All right, fam, the George Floyd Justice Act is dead because Senator Tim Scott, Senator Cory Booker, as well as Congresswoman Karen Bass, they couldn't come to an agreement. Scott spent lots of time on the Sunday shows, Fox News, Face the Nation, blasting Democrats, saying it's their fault. They walked away. So here's what he said on Face the Nation, talking to Margaret Brennan. He was talking about who caused the problem. Who caused the problem? And it was interesting because we played this 2-minute clip yesterday. And the reason I thought it was very interesting as he was talking to them, because he was real clear. It was they were sitting here and they were trying to defund the police, and they were just wrong, and how dare they, and it was their fault. And then it was Senator Cory Booker. They walked away from the table twice. I mean, he was saying all of those things. Really? Is that what really happened? So here's what we played yesterday. I want you to watch this, but I want you to listen. Okay? Listen to this.
Cory Booker, who was your partner in this.
Yes.
I mean, this started under the Trump administration. It continued under the Biden administration.
Exactly.
When Republicans in control, went nowhere. Democrats in control, it's going nowhere.
But both times, the folks that left the table were the Democrats. Let's just be clear that we have stayed at the table. The Justice Act provided clear direction to improve the quality of the experience for the communities at risk and the law enforcement officers who patrol those areas.
So if you're still at the table, was the issue that you just couldn't deliver Republican votes?
Absolutely
for
not.
What Senator
Absolutely
Booker proposed to you with what he has described as this compromise?
Once again, the fact is that last time around we gave them 20 amendments to change the bill in any way they wanted to. This time we said simply this: I am not going to participate in reducing funding for the police after we saw major city after major city defund the police. Many provisions in this bill that he wanted me to agree to limited or reduced funding for the police. That's a lose. That's a lose-lose proposition. When you reduce funding for police, you actually lose lives in the communities. Our approach was a win-win approach. We want the best wearing the badge, and we want the vulnerable protected. So when you tie funding losses in this legislation, you should expect an allergic reaction from me.
But they would say, and Senator Booker's team has said publicly in interviews he's done, that there wasn't a net loss of funding. In fact, there was funding being increased in terms of increased mental health funding specifically, that there were specific programs for recruitment and training funding increases, body-worn camera funding increases, data collection.
Yes,
so that's not cutting funding. It's might be allocating it in different ways.
Actually, here's what we know. We have about $1 billion in grant money that goes to police. When you start saying in order to receive those dollars, you must do A, B, and C, and if you don't do A, B, and C, you literally lose eligibility for the two major pots of money, the burn grants and the COP grants. When you tell local law enforcement agencies that you are ineligible for money, that's defunding the police. There's no way to spin that. You can spin it by saying—
But this would codify the Trump executive orders.
Let me finish. The Trump executive order, I actually agreed to. What I did not agree to was the cuts that come from non-compliance.
Okay. So he said, I did not agree to the cuts of non-compliance. But did he remember what came out of his mouth a year ago when he was talking to Judy Woodruff on PBS? Roll it.
Thank you so much for joining us. I want to ask you first about some of the Democrats' reaction. They are saying, yes, this is a move in the right direction, but the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said today that it doesn't rise to the moment. We heard House Speaker Nancy Pelosi say it's inadequate. Do you think you will be able to get enough Democratic votes to get this to a debate and a vote on the Senate floor?
Well, if we do not, then they'll have to explain to the families that I met with yesterday at the White House and the families that I met with yesterday in my office on why we're not willing to take seriously some of the changes that are important to those families who've lost loved ones because of the police interaction. This bill, modeled after much of the House bill, is an important step in the right direction. It also includes the focus of the president and the priorities in the executive order. So we have a chance to do something meaningful for the American people, especially communities of color who are losing confidence in the institutions of authority in this country.
Well, Senator, as you know, Democrats are calling for an outright ban on certain measures like a chokehold or the so-called no-knock warrant.
Yes.
In your proposal, you are saying these things should be tied to federal funding, that if departments go ahead with them, they risk losing funding. And yet you also said today that this is something that should be debated. The chokehold should be debated for the American people to hear. So it sounds like you're open to a complete ban on a chokehold. Is that right?
Well, I would say it this way. My legislation gets us to the position where if you are a law enforcement department that does not already have a ban on chokeholds, you do not have access to the federal funding. The House bill does not have the ability to actually, in my opinion, ban chokeholds. What they do is they defund states' revenue streams from the federal government. It's kind of the same thing, to be honest with you. The fact of the matter is that policing is a local government decision, not a federal decision. So I'd love to see how the Democrats thread that needle from federalism and the local department's ability to make the decisions. We do that through the refusing to give them the grant dollars. The White House, in their executive order, does the exact same thing through a certification process. So all three levers of government have the same objective. I think we get there if we keep working together, looking for a solution.
So I hear a little bit
Wait. He just said that if y'all don't have it in place, you can't access the federal money. He then said there's a certification process. So if y'all don't go through it, y'all don't get the money. Is that not what he criticized a year later on Face the Nation? When he said that, they trying to defund. I'm sorry, Tim, but I just want to be clear. Did I hear you say this?
Increases, body-worn camera funding increases, data collection.
Yes.
So that's not cutting funding. It's might be allocating it in different ways.
Actually, here's what we know. We have about $1 billion in grant money that goes to police. When you start saying in order to receive those dollars, you must do A, B, and C, and if you don't do A, B, and C, you literally lose eligibility for the two major pots of money, the burn grants and the COP grants. When you tell local law enforcement agencies that you are ineligible for money, that's defunding the police.
Hold up, okay. I need y'all to roll that clip from Judy Woodruff back about 45 seconds. Roll it back 45 seconds, and then I want y'all to hear what Tim Scott said a year ago to Judy Woodruff. Press play.
Is a defund states' revenue streams from the federal government. It's kind of the same thing, to be honest with you. The fact of the matter is that policing is a local government decision, not a federal decision. So Democrats thread that new federal funding. Enforcement department that does not.
The chokehold should be debated for the American people to hear. So it's
guys, put it on pause. Go back 30, 45 seconds. See, folks, this is what happens when you forget your last lie and then you go on TV with a new lie. He literally said to Judy Woodruff that if you do not do these things, that we stipulate by the federal government, you're not going to have access to the money. He literally said in the Trump executive order, there is a certification process. Y'all, a certification process means if you're not certified, you don't get the money. Press play.
And yet you also said today that this is something that should be debated. The chokehold should be debated for the American people to hear. So it sounds like you're open to a complete ban on a chokehold. Is that right?
Well, I would say it this way. My legislation gets us to the position where if you are a law enforcement department that does not already have a ban on chokeholds, you do not have access to the federal funding.
Stop, pause. So you do not have a policy already banning chokeholds, you can't get the money. That's the same thing he criticized. Press play.
Does not have the ability to actually, in my opinion, ban chokeholds. What they do is they defund states' revenue streams from the federal government. It's kind of the same thing, to be honest with you. The fact of the matter is that policing is a local government decision, not a federal decision. So I'd love to see how the Democrats thread that needle from federalism and the local department's ability to make the decisions. We do that through the refusing to give them the grant dollars. The White House, in their executive order, does the exact same thing.
Stop! We do that by refusing to give them the grant dollars. Is that not defund? He then says the Trump White House does the same thing with their executive order. The executive order he helped write, that he supported. Press play.
Certification process. So all three levers of government have the same objective. I think we get there if we keep working together, looking for a solution.
So I hear a little bit of give in your position, but let me also ask you about this concept, legal concept, qualified immunity.
Stop. See, now, see, again, this is what happens when you lie. Today, this statement came out. Largest U.S. police group appears to counter Senator Tim Scott's argument that Democrats sought to defund police in reform negotiations. Two prominent police organizations, the International Association of Chiefs of Police and the Fraternal Order of Police, appeared to push back against Scott's argument in a statement Tuesday. Though the senator's name was not mentioned, quote, despite some media reports, at no point did any legislative draft propose, quote, defunding the police. In fact, the legislation specifically provided additional funding to assist law enforcement agencies in training, agency accreditation, and data collection initiatives. These provisions would have helped strengthen law enforcement, improve community police engagement, quote, without compromising management and officers' rights, authorities, and legal protections. This, y'all, is the statement right here. I'm going to pull it up. This is the actual statement right here. Right here. So here's what happened. Scott said, well, you need to get the unions on. Booker said, cool. Booker went to these two unions, got the deal. All of us came back, brought it back to Scott, said, they on. Then all of a sudden, the deal got leaked. Then the other unions start yelling and screaming, scuttle the whole deal. See, Scott's been disingenuous. He's lying. At no point did Scott say that the unions were on board. So he goes on Face the Nation, he goes on Fox News, blasting Democrats, saying, oh, they want to defund the police. Here you have two police unions, Fraternal Order Police. We ain't no friends with FOP. Admitting that's a lie. So who will you believe? Y'all also notice Tenor Tim Scott would not say specifically, this is what I need in the bill. You know why? Because we had Congresswoman Karen Bass on the show on Thursday. I've talked with others on Capitol Hill. Scott kept moving the goalposts. Scott wouldn't commit. Well, no, I'm gonna need that. Well, no, I'm gonna need that. Well, no, I'm gonna need that. Scott would not even, listen to the Face the Nation, he would not even commit to what was in the Trump executive order. And y'all, he helped support it. This is why he cannot be trusted on this issue. Senator Tim Scott is lying. Either the Democrats wanted to defund the police or the unions are lying. Senator Tim Scott, which one is it? Are you lying or are the unions lying? I'm reading their statement. He won't answer their statement. Because, see, y'all got to understand, the moment the lie is told, remember, the lie moves around the world faster than truth. So he goes on the shows on Sunday. News Cycle Sunday, News Cycle Monday. They dropped their new statement today. Old news now. The lie was effective. The lie was cemented. He did the interview on Saturday. They released a portion of it on Saturday to gin up attention to watch it on Sunday. That's what he did. So y'all also notice, Senator Tim Scott, why don't you sit down with Senator Cory Booker and do a dual interview? And let's go over what you supported and what you didn't support. Let's go over what deals were brought back to you and deals that you rejected. See, that's what really happened here. He's not going to come on this show because he's going to have to answer these questions. He's going to have to answer not so dancing around these little cute little phrases. He's going to have to answer, no. What specifically did you ask for that the Democrats said no? There were 5 major issues in this bill. 3 of them, the top 3, chokeholds, no-knock warrants, databases. Senator Scott, didn't you support databases in your bill last year? So, no databases this time? Teresa, Abisha, Mustafa, see, this is what happens when you start unpacking stuff, when you start busting folk who lie. When you start saying, but you said this, now there is no, it is a 180-degree difference of what Tim Scott said last year to Judy Woodruff on PBS to what he said to Margaret Brennan on Face the Nation on Sunday. Any one of you can jump in.
No, and you're right, Roland. I think that we also have to remember that something else happened between last year and that Julie Woodruff interview and what happened over this past weekend. What we saw was a great mass of people who were marching, protesting, those on the right as well who wanted to get some level of attention during the election cycle, understanding that voters really cared about police brutality. I would argue that, and we've seen this in the numbers, that that level of people in the streets, but also that level of this being a top line issue for not just the Black community, but adjacent communities that also saw it as important, has significantly gone down. And what Tim Scott did was take advantage of the increase in gun violence, and he's utilized that to be basically his standard bearer in terms of arguing that we need more police. The whole defund the police argument we know is a farce. Nobody within the construct of this legislation was trying to defund the police. That is not what that was about. What we also know is that tying specific elements of funding to a specific platform is nothing new, nor is removing said funding if an organization or if a state group or city-based group goes outside of that. We've seen it with community block grants, CDBG grants. We've seen it with grants to healthcare organizations. We've seen it with grants to education organizations. We've seen it with federal funding to basically anything that goes to the states or the city. So none of this is new. What Tim Scott did was make a disingenuous pact in the beginning because he wanted to have that leveraging point in media, and then came back to the mean because the rest of the Republican Party told him to, and because Tim Scott sees himself as somebody who's going to be running at the top of the ticket in 2024. He does not want to have anything on the mantle that looks like it is progressive. He doesn't want to have anything on the mantle that would push against what the commentary is running on Fox, on OAN, on a lot of these other conservative networks. He was going to always come back, and he needed the political cover. He needed the cover that came from this push to put more officers on the street, largely brought on by the rise in gun violence, which arguably we know how to reduce that as well, and Democrats have plans for that, and Republicans consistently push against them. But this has been a long time coming for Tim Scott. I don't think he was ever genuine about it to begin with. He was just taking advantage of a moment in which this was a platform issue, and the minute that moment started to wane, he decided to push go on something that the Republicans wanted to do all along, pull the rug out from under everyone when it came to true legitimate police reforms.
See, here's the thing here, Mustafa. Tim Scott has never said, this is what I needed in the bill to move forward. If you actually go back and listen to all the interviews he's given, he has never definitively said, this is what I needed. No, it was always an excuse. It was always another excuse. And so Democrats were conceding. They would go back, and it was like one thing after another. And it was sort of like, okay, what is it? Like, dude, what do you want? I am told he was specifically asked, okay, Tim, what is it that you want for us to move forward? And he could not articulate that. He was not actually trying to move forward because and you know why? I think that he knows he couldn't go get another 8 votes. See, here's other people don't understand. Senator Lindsey Graham met with the George Floyd family on the anniversary of the George Floyd's death. When I interviewed the family, I had the only interview with the family on that day when they came and met us down here at Black Lives Matter Plaza. They had a meeting, and Senator Lindsey Graham said in the meeting that I'm going to help Tim move this across the finish line. We think we can get 20 to 25 votes. Tim Scott, you couldn't even get 8 other votes. And so what does he do? Mustafa blames a Democrat because he failed. He could not convince his own Republicans to support a bill that he was their lead negotiator.
I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, you know, he doesn't want to get locked down and have to give specifics because he knows, like you said, the Democrats were willing to do whatever was necessary to get something passed. The country was demanding that something get passed. And, you know, folks pulled his card. And when they pulled his card, he used the Shaggy defense. He said, it wasn't me. And, you know, and he keeps saying it. You know, I didn't say that. I didn't do that. And then when people run the tape, you know, the truth is revealed. So, you know, we know what we're dealing with here. Amisha laid it out for you. This is about him preparing himself for the 2024 election. They are going to have either a woman or they are going to have a person of color. And considering when you look at the Republican Party, it gets really thin for the vice presidential slot. So he's not going to step out there. And here's the thing that makes it even worse. If what he shares with us is true about his engagements with law enforcement, he should want to do everything that he can to protect the lives of those who don't have the privilege that he has. You know, if somebody is going to pull you over and you got those license plates on the back of your car that sort of let people know who you are, we all know what's going on a daily basis for everybody else. And then when the unions don't even back up your lie, then you know you got yourself a problem. So now he's going to have to figure out how he's going to clean this up. Because if he doesn't, this will also be a drag on him as he tries to run for future leadership positions, inside of their party, even though we know that Donald Trump used to be able to say and do anything and continue to reinvent the facts as he moved along. I don't think Tim Scott's going to get that same grace that they gave Donald Trump.
Teresa, I broke it down last night, and as far as I'm concerned, Democrats are being too soft, too weak in going after Senator Tim Scott. If that man's going to sit there and lie, I mean, the police unions, they have completely contradicted Senator Tim Scott. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why they are not firing back and checking them left and right by saying, no, you're lying.
Absolutely. I think Senator Cory Booker, is our lead spokesperson on this issue as it relates to trying to get this done. And I think he can speak to some of the actions that Senator Tim Scott has delivered, which was absolutely nothing. And it's unfortunate because, again, Senator Scott has been used. Of course, we knew that he wasn't going to have the votes. I think maybe in the early stages, he probably thought, I am the Republican Party's, golden child. I want to say boy, but golden child. As it relates to being the only African-American GOP, force when it comes to criminal justice reform and any other things that, may look like a progressive lens. But unfortunately, it always stops short. I think with Senator Scott, that's what it always looks like. It stops short on getting it done. But again, it looks like the Republicans have put up at least a fight to do so. And so, again, it's just an unfortunate appeal. Democrats need to do more. Senator Cory Booker and the rest of the Democrats need to call him out. I totally agree that the time is now. We can't wait till later. We can't wait until next year. And we just have to, call him out for what it is. You lied. You didn't tell the American people the truth. You had a strategic plan on how you were going to roll out your communications. And you forget that people are pulling clips from a year ago. You forget that you are pulling clips for 6 months ago because you're saying contradictory things. And people do trust the unions. People do trust the working class. And so those, working people who are saying, listen, you know what? Change definitely needs to happen, and reform definitely could look a little different. I think we need to listen to them and do something different.
And again, folks, what you're dealing with here, and just so y'all know, this is literally the actual statements right here from the International Association of Chiefs of Police and the Fraternal Order of Police, and where they lay it all out, and they said point blank, at no point did any legislative draft propose defunding the police. They said there was going to be an increase in funding. Then it says, our organizations remain steadfast in working with all interested parties who are willing to take a fact-based approach to enact effective and lasting change to avoid a patchwork of state laws that do not provide uniform standards and guidance to the policing profession. The IACP and the FOP will continue to embrace the challenge, instill strong values into our agencies and at all ranks, and hold ourselves accountable for our actions in order to build a more cohesive and safer future for our community. See, here's what that line, if y'all, and what I want y'all to do is, I want y'all to roll back the Judy Woodruff interview, take it back 60 seconds, because that line, because see, this is why y'all need to understand the breakdown. When they say to avoid first of all, fact-based approach, and then to avoid a patchwork of state laws that do not provide uniform standards and guidance to the policing profession, this is what they were referencing, because this is what Scott said 1 year ago to Judy Woodruff. Listen.
Ban on a chokehold, is that right?
Well, I would say it this way. My legislation gets us to the position where if you are a law enforcement department that does not already have a ban on chokeholds, you do not have access to the federal funding. The House bill does not have the ability to actually, in my opinion, ban chokeholds. What they do is they defund states' revenue streams from the federal government. It's kind of the same thing, to be honest with you. The fact of the matter is that policing is a local government decision, not a federal decision. So I'd love to see how the Democrats thread that needle from federalism.
See, that's the real issue right here. Senator Tim Scott and the Republicans, their fundamental problem is that they are all about states' rights. What those segregationist Democrats were in the 50s and 60s, that's who the Republican Party is today. States' rights, states' rights. You just heard him say, oh, it's really a matter of local and states' rights. Go back to the police statement. This is what the police statement said. We're willing to take a fact-based approach to enact effective and lasting change to avoid a patchwork of state laws that do not provide uniform standards and guidance to the policing profession. So Senator Tim Scott, Amisha, Mustafa, and Teresa, is complaining about saying, oh, Democrats, y'all want federalism, federalism, federalism. Y'all want federalism. And here you have the police unions who are saying the problem is when you have different laws in South Carolina compared to Mississippi, compared to North Carolina, compared to Idaho, compared to Wyoming, compared to California. We need a, quote, they want a unified standard and guidance to the policing profession. And Scott is saying, Democrats, no, we're not going to do that.
It's not even only disparate across states, it's disparate across cities within the same state. So I think that there has to be something done that helps to not only give people faith in the system, but also to legitimize it, where you won't have chokeholds happening in one police precinct or in one city 20 minutes away from one that has already banned them, where you won't have officers that have committed atrocities towards African Americans, some of them death, some of them extreme cases of brutality where they nearly killed somebody, and then they just go one precinct over and get another job. I think that there's something to be said here about the reluctance of and the push that Tim Scott did, because this was a general bait and switch. And he had it in his mind. This was a part of a formula from the beginning. And he wanted to ensure that he ran the clock down. That's what all the stalls were for. That's what all the back and forth was for. He wanted to ensure that this was no longer a top of the line news story as it was in the summer, the fall, the winter of last year and the early spring of this year. He wanted to make this a waning political policy issue because he knows that despite the elongated fact-based findings that we have reduced, the things that we've talked about on this show, the things that I've heard on other shows as well, at the end of the day, Republicans don't care about facts. They don't give a damn. And having a playback of what someone said last year versus what they said this year, Republicans are very used to this type of rhetoric because they want what they want and they will take it by any means necessary. Right now, they're running on a defund the police, anti-defund the police mantra, and they've seen gains across the country in doing so, and they think it's going to help them in midterms as well. They're not going to let that go.
Again, here's the whole deal, Teresa, from a messaging standpoint, and Mustafa. If you're Democrats, you ain't got any room margin for error. You need to be out there messaging point blank saying, yo, we were ready. He failed. He was the one who couldn't deliver. And frankly, I'm sorry, and I said to Senator Cory Booker, I saw his appearances, they were weak. They were weak. It was weak sauce. I'm sorry. The man is hitting you with a sledgehammer, and you coming back, well, I'm not going to get into name calling. He was my friend. I'm going to extend him grace. Damn that. No grace. No grace. You got to go. You got to get right to it. Final comment, Mustafa and Teresa.
Well, you can't give grace because we got people's lives that are in jeopardy by not having, the consistencies that's in place. I mean, the police, these police departments and unions know that they're going to continue to get sued. So, and all the time that I spent in the federal government, folks wanted consistency. In the states, industries wanted consistency so that they knew what the regulation was. What are the lines that we can operate in? And it helps folks to just be clear. So when you don't do that, now, Senator Tim Scott continues to drop the ball. I can go through a number of pieces of legislation that he's worked on where he hasn't been successful. And the things that he was able to work with others to get past hasn't helped people. So this is just another example of failed policies and not being able to deliver on the things that you say that you can do.
Well, I sent it to him. I just sent him a text message, Teresa, saying no response to what the union said, totally contradicting what you said on Face the Nation. Yeah, he ain't text me back in 4 years. I'm not expecting him to hit me back, but I already know it's still his number, and I'm gonna keep sending it to him because somebody needs to be demanding the truth from him.
I agree. I mean, look, if there's a number that we can all text at the same time, please let us know. We'll flood the gates. But I think there is a federal, position that needs to happen. Again, most of these police departments, I think they actually keep it localized. They don't like to change. They're very traditional, and the way they fight crime, the way they prosecute are the ways that they love to be. And of course, I think some of the unions are very sick and tired of being sued and tired of going in arbitration. And I think they are looking for the federal government to step in and do their job. So if there isn't a federal state law or federal law that is changing how police reform happens in the cities and states across the country, then we are going to have these continued situations where people are, doing whatever they choose to when they become one in uniform to protect and serve.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way. Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?